All right, ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from a remote session here. We got the temporary studio up and running. As usual, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking here in the digital media world, and I've got our good friend Pedro Garcia here. Pedro, what is happening?
Hey, how you guys doing? Hope everybody's doing well. I had a great holiday. Um, Real quick, if you guys could do me a favor, please hit that like button and subscribe and share. We'd appreciate it. And let us know where you are coming from. Are you guys coming
No sound
from
effects today, guys. Sorry, there. I'll just say it. Oh, Canada.
Oh Canada? But it's a good time, I would say. Very, very, very good time. I hope you guys had a good time as well. With everything that you're doing. Please also hit those heart buttons.
Oh,
Those heart buttons have been really helping us out a lot. So we'd appreciate if hitting those hearts and those little things. Those do help us quite a bit. Shocking. That's really been pushing us up in the algorithm and getting the name out and the show out, which has been really interesting. But let's go ahead and go right into Bitcoin as we move forward. So, like I said, about a week ago, we were up in these levels here. I was expecting this to come down even a little bit further, but right now we just see Bitcoin kind of going sideways here. So it's been really interesting to see what's actually happening there. In addition to that, and I think what's even cooler is that we're actually seeing um, a and I don't know if it's cool or not, but there is increase in volume on the short side, which means we might have a nice little sell off so that we can actually buy in at lower prices here. So it's pretty cool. We're still at this level though, where like I've talked about this monthly moving average, where we're just or this monthly supply zone, which we're sitting up above right here, and in additionally to that, it's looking it's looking like it's just kind of consolidating here for a I mean either a really explode up or a drop down here um, for these levels. So as we come near to that ETF um, system getting kicked in, or not, excuse me, not kicked, that's the wrong word, but getting pushed through Congress, kicked through Congress.
we're all a little off. We've all had a little too much eggnog over the holidays here.
There we go. Potentially, they're coming in here buying this and potentially seeing a little bit of a sell off coming in, or have they already been buying in and they're just going to add it to their portfolio within their wallet? So, it'll be really interesting to see what happens as we move. But this sideways pattern here is something where it's definitely looking like they're adding to their portfolio and just basically building up a position to potentially push through even harder. And listen, we're right at that top. I mean, we're at 69,000 here, so it's gonna be really interesting to see if we push through from this 43,000. And the fact is that we haven't fully hit this yet. It indicates to me that we're probably going to push through this level, this 48 to 45 area here easily, because they're basically just eating up the seller marks right at these levels. These are sellers sitting here. So it's just really interesting to see them um, just kind of going sideways here. I mean, it's really interesting. I do see us potentially moving um, either if we do see a sell off, then I do see us coming down first, then to go up, because this is a very, it's pretty clear to me what they're wanting to do. Sounds good. Excellent. What's up, Mike? I see Charles. Good to see you guys. Um, yeah, that's it right here, right now, at least for what we're seeing with Bitcoin. And how are you doing back there? I see that you're on the phone. Are you trying to get a hold of me? Oh, here we go. Um, Latest news, though. I wanted to bring this up. This is really interesting. I actually was able to use Grok, which I'm really happy about. I've been waiting for these guys. I don't know if you guys have looked at um, the you guys pay for Grok, but I really dig off of it. One thing, like we all know, like ChatGPT as well as Google's AI and a few of the other ones, they won't give you kind of their opinion or their thought. One thing about Grok is that it will tell you its opinion. So it's really interesting I asked Brock what its thoughts were on what's happening with India, and I think it's really interesting.
Oh,
It
he's a
gave me.
quagmire, but there's apparently new news, right? Right, Pedro?
Say again. You're
It's,
breaking. I can barely hear you.
ugh, sorry about that. There is some new news out of India. Politics are changing. Maybe not for the better.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But what's nice though, I think what's interesting is with them is that they're definitely looking to try to get more of money from crypto, which is kind of a good thing. Which means that sooner or later there's going to be some pretty clear cut regulations within India for a lot of the crypto users, which I think is an important thing to be set up. I want to almost read what Grok said. So, because it's really interesting. So I asked it, okay, what are your thoughts? Or I asked what are its thoughts? Like, what's going on with this, and what do you think? And I basically dropped in a some information for it, and then it basically kicked off this. So, as of my thoughts on the matter, I believe that, like a roller coaster ride, the crypto world is full of ups and downs. This recent development in India might be a bump in the road, but it's also an opportunity for the global crypto community to adapt and grow. After all, as the wise old AI once said, change is only consistent in the unit. Change is the only consistency consistent in the universe, and crypto is no exception. I just thought that was
No
very,
exception at all.
I just thought that was really interesting. So, granted, this is just a large language model. What do they call it? LLMs, large language
Yeah, large language
LLMs.
models.
Yeah, but I just thought it was really interesting. Yeah, but I really like the Grok's. Uh, I think it's good. I like how it goes through a lot of the tweets as well, but it also pulls from the internet, so it's like a good like human based system, as well as like its own like taking knowledge. So I think that's just really interesting to hear. And it sounds like a real person, but obviously it's just an amalgamation of everybody's communication and talking. So it's just really interesting.
All
Really
right.
interesting.
I'm just behind the scenes trying to get the word out. I have a little bit different social media set up here today, so just dropping the note about the show everywhere for people.
Absolutely. Actually, you're right. I totally forgot about doing that.
No,
Do you want to drop it off in Brian's and also uh, the dojo?
the dojo. I will do that right now.
All right. Can you post in Brian's?
Yep,
All right,
I
cool.
can.
Excellent. So let's go ahead and go and check out some other. So Ethereum. Ethereum's actually had a little pump yesterday, like a really good pump where it actually put in a new higher high, which is a. I was shocked because I was expecting us to drop even a little bit lower. So the fact that this put in a higher high here is a sign like, a potentially like this is going to be pushing. The only bad thing behind it, and I bring this up, is that you have a big, huge surge of buyers, but then you're also having a huge surge of sellers coming in. So I have some timidness to this, but we'll see what happens here. BNB of all things,
Yeah,
uh,
how about that?
yeah. I mean, over the holiday, this thing just started pushing. So it literally went from 266, literally all the way up to 380. What was that? 338.
Yep.
So again, that's not a small feat there. And especially with what's going on in India, I'm shocked that we haven't seen much of a sell-off here off of that fundamental news. So I think that's an interesting development of that. So either um, it's not, like it hasn't calculated that into the price yet, or people just do not care and they're still buying crypto. And here's the thing, most people buy and use Binance through VPNs. So how are the how is the Indian government going to sit there and really stop its users when the majority
Well,
of
I
them are
guess
more tech?
they have to rely on Binance to self-regulate that, like they stop United States people.
Yes, yes. But even then, the VPN is kicked in, right? So how do you get around that?
They don't transfer your money until you KYC with a government ID.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah,
To be honest, I don't know how Binance.com operates in India, but that's how they stopped it in the U.S. and Canada.
definitely. Give
Bastards.
me. Yeah, it's almost like they're trying to stop people from actually getting ahead in
There'll
life.
be no fun of any kind.
Yeah, good old governments. They got to keep you in slave mode so that they can actually, you know, I don't know. We shouldn't say that. That's
Right. I know. It's just terrible.
yeah. Well, here it is though.
You Space Cat, you did call BNB. I remember you mentioning it somewhere into these comments. You're like, don't leave it out. The meme coins, as soon as the bull market starts to run a little bit, the meme coins on BNB start to pump, and everyone buys BNB. So that was some good advice.
Yeah, it was good buys. That's actually really good.
Pit Monk, thanks for watching. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. Like it totally just took out. Absolutely. So I actually pulled that up going, wow. Absolutely. And it was a huge surge. There's definitely this fight between Solana and BNB. So it's actually really, really interesting to see what's going on here.
Pedro, could you give a quick synopsis of what happened in India? Pit Monk is asking. He tuned in a little late and he just wants a review. Maybe we can put a link to the article about it in the comments.
Absolutely. I'll read through it right here. So basically, here's the deal. India's finance intelligence unit has issued compliance show cause notice to 9 major offshore crypto exchanges, including industry giants like Binance. I always mess them up. Huobi,
Yeah.
um,
Good luck
yeah,
with that.
Huobi and KuCoin. The government accused these platforms of operating illegally within the country's borders without adhering to local money laundering laws. Now what does this mean for a crypto world? Well, it's like a cosmic dance of regulation and crypto exchange trying to find the rhythm. On one hand, this move underscores India's commitment to bring offshore crypto exchanges under regulatory oversight. On the other hand, it might make it more challenging for Indian traders to access these global platforms,
It's true.
potentially shifting their focus to local exchanges. And that's where, for me and Tom, we were talking about, if I'm India and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the next bull run, and obviously they're not idiots. Many of their just, I would say many, I would say, I mean, they have a huge educated culture there. They're very much, I know here in the States, we literally will hire and import. I would say import. That's the wrong word. Uh, bring over. How do you say that? I mean, by guys who are from India, who are computer engineers, and they'll hire them from 6 months to a year, and they will pay them great wages, right? And the difference between the American dollar versus the Indian dollar, right, is a huge. It's
Right.
huge.
The
So
rupee.
the ruby, um, and
Rupee.
so it's one of those things that is very, they're not dumb. Like they understand crypto. They get in and get out easily and quickly.
That's
And
true.
so whereas most Americans are clueless, like they're like, what? Especially our government officials. They, if you were to say, hey Biden, can you go through and buy some BNB off of KuCoin? He'd be like, what? What's going? Like.
Maybe what you talking about, Willis?
Yes, exactly. Or ask. I think maybe the only person who might probably would be able to do something like that is Senator Warren, who's very much at least.
Probably doing it in the background.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, she's trying to push down so she can fill her bags. But I mean, I'm not trying to say she is or she isn't, but just saying, if I had the ability to push a market down to make some money from it, well, No, I wouldn't do that. I mean, because that means I would be a politician. Oh, wait.
Oh, slam
Hey.
against yourself there.
Yes, yes, yes,
We
yes.
don't want to insult all those politicians. Pedro's a much better person than every one of them. Vote for Pedro, ladies and
Vote
gentlemen.
for
Vote for
Pedro.
Pedro.
Vote for Pedro. Pedro. With a very clear people's Pedro for Senate. Not even, man. Oh my goodness. That's funny. I actually have a few friends of mine who are running for House Representatives and for Congress. And it's just really interesting to see all the stuff that they're kind of going through. And I mean, they literally, when we talk, or when we talked, now we just don't even talk because he's just like, dude, I can't even talk. Like, you're too much into crypto now, and it looks bad on any senator, especially in Washington. It could, because things could change. I
Oh, it
mean,
will, and it is. And all these old senators are getting made fun of.
but the problem is it's still at a point where, what's the word I want to use? Um, it's not a,
It's not mainstream yet.
yeah, that's the best way of saying it. It's just not mainstream.
Yet. Pedro,
Yeah.
while you got the charts up here before we get further into the show, the title of the show is Matic was booming. Everything's booming right now, it seems like, but what's going on with Matic?
Let's check out the Matty Mac. Here we go. Boom. Matic. So Matic did a nice little explosion. It went from 83 cents or 84 cents all the way up to 109. So again, it definitely pushed out of these higher highs here or these higher lows here and just exploded. So what is that? It's almost a 20% increase. So that is amazing comparative. Actually, more than that. It'd be 20. So that'd be 20, 40. So I'm trying to think. Yeah, 25%. There we go. 25% increase from when we were on was it Friday that when we were on? So yeah, it's some strength, man. I would sit there and say that at these upper levels here, I would say the next spot here for us to go to now is literally the $1.29, $1.56 area over here. And just so you guys know, this is not financial advice, for educational and social entertainment
I
purposes.
do have one of those banners here.
So just giving you guys heads up on all of that.
Let's run this for a while.
As you guys can see here, price point from 80 cents to 129 is a pretty nice little pump here. And honestly, I'm impressed with these big pushes. I mean, when I was looking at ARB, so I was checking out ARB, and I wanted to add to the bag, just kind of check out what's going on with it. And so it was back here the other night when we started to see a good sell-off here on the 26th. And as we were coming down, I said, oh, okay, this looks like a fairly good price point, right? Because it's coming down this racetrack. And so I said, I'll buy a little bit here and a little bit here. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, holy crap. I was like, wait, what happened? I was just, like sometimes when you see that big jump and you just, it still kind of blows you away every time, right? Where it's just like, this thing is really pumping. Like when you look at your bags and you're just like, yeah, because we've been accumulating this stuff as it's in the, as it's, while it's in the doldrum, right? $100, $200, $50, right? And that stuff starts to add up, right? Because all of a sudden when you're doing 2x, 1x, 3x, 4x, now it's just, you're looking at your bags going, wow, it's a nice little pump there. So it's pretty nice. I sold some at 107. Need it to dive so I can buy it back before blast off. You know what? I was actually looking at them. I think they're sitting at, I think it's 2 point bill. Is it 2.4 billion? Is where they're sitting at right now. So for ARB, and reality is, I think you could easily see ARB being a multi-billion-dollar. Give me a second. ARB, Tether, no, not Tether. USD. So I think you could easily see R becoming, going to $10, $15 potentially because of just how quick it is. The biggest kit that they're going to have to do is they're really going to have to get a lot of applications on their blockchain, right? And you bring in a lot of money. And once that starts to happen even more, that's when you should really start to see that push off from here. There's a lot of space on many of the blockchains that are out there. So it's like, it's almost like when Apple Computer or Apple started their app store, right? Or Droid started their app store, right? It's almost like this. Whereas at first, there's a bunch of applications, and as they built the store out to make it stronger and its ability to be able to handle more apps, it's almost like this going on right here, right? Like a bunch of layer 2s and 3s on these major blockchains are going to be really interesting to see how it's built, especially layer 2 and layer 3 as they bring in more protocols not protocols, but more a utility to the blockchain. Is going to be really interesting to see how it all applies, and I know that like not the banking industry, excuse me, the gaming industry has really been just developing over the last few years, especially within crypto. So there's been a lot of money put into that. So it's been really interesting to see what's going on. What's up, Mako? How you doing, brother? Good to see you. But I think it's just real interesting to sit there, just checking out ARB. I know, and I feel you on that. Like I was like, I should have totally put more into ARB, man. I'm just like, ugh. But the reality is these are still lower levels. Like I don't like these aren't big levels, right? Especially I was listening to one article, not listening to it, listening to a speaker. And he goes, and I thought it was a little bit outlandish, but he made a great case for it, where he basically just talks about how you could potentially see in this next bull run, seeing the market cap get up to literally 15 trillion. And I sat there and I was shocked. I was like, 15 trillion? Holy crap. If it really went from 15 trillion. And so I had to sit there and go, where were we at in the previous bear market from 2017? Right? Like, and so I was, where is it at? And we'll go right into it here real quick. But I sat there and I was like, potentially, he goes, and what brought it is when he said, when you look at the amount of money that potentially is coming in from a lot of the institutional money, we're talking major cash. So it's one of those moments that I sat there and I was like, he's right. Like when you think about it, it's not a bad, it's not like I could sit there and go, oh, that's hogwash, right? Like you're talking, BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, all these major institutions where, $100 billion, $400 billion, $1 trillion is not that they don't blink an eye on, but they're just starting to trickle in. They're not even like really getting in. You a lot of times you'll see smaller houses start to get in first, right? They'll be the ones who will really start to put money in, bringing in people's exposure to crypto. And then all of a sudden, once you start to have Vanguard come in, probably potentially, they're getting in now, but they're really, I would say, the next bull run, right? 2 bull runs from now, not the one coming up, but the one after. That's when you're really potentially see maybe a 20-30 trillion dollar market cap as we keep progressing. So it's just, it's crazy to think potentially we could see a bear run or a bull market, this bull market at 15 trillion. It's crazy because, and here's the part to consider: market cap of the crypto market here at the previous bear market here, low of $130 billion was the market cap of the previous bear market, the low, right? In comparison to the high, which was almost 3 trillion. So it's one of those things that I'm just like, you know what? We very much could see we could see things really start to kick up. The thing I want to add in as well is, as you guys starting to see here, the overall increase in volume is picking up here. So it's one of those things that, come on, we're starting to see, like lower highs, or excuse me, higher highs and higher lows now coming in, and to the volume within the last since January of last year to now. So it's just really, really interesting to see this type of formation coming in. I want to see higher highs. The biggest key for me is I want to see higher highs, higher lows. And so if I'm not seeing it, I'm like, But now we are putting higher lows and not necessarily higher highs, consistently, but there are higher lows. And so for me, seeing that with potential, with the market coming in, and again, I want to add this as well. We don't know how much of this is coming from institutional buyers, right?
Right.
Like, and that's, and them coming in as things are moving up. But either way, it's still one of those things that is noteworthy to sit there and say, now I need to pay attention, right? From November, we saw this, but then we saw the sell-off. But from this moment on, you need to start paying attention, because we are putting higher lows in. And so this is something that you need to be paying attention to. The greed factor here is picking up, which is good.
Excellent. All right, Pedro, let's take a quick social media break and say thanks to everybody that's watching. If you're watching on YouTube and you are watching on your mobile device, and every time you go to check your mail, our stream turns off, don't forget, you can watch us on the Twitch app or the LinkedIn app, and then you can put us in the background and still listen to us while you multitask and work. And of course, as always, we encourage you to interact with us as best as you can. That like button particularly works well. And of course, you're commenting during the stream, because on my little analytics screen here, it says your chat rate. And the higher the chat rate, the more that people think that, or more that YouTube thinks that's interacting with us. So that is good for us. And of course, like, commenting, and sharing, or like, following and sharing, whatever platform you're watching us on, will surely help. Today, we're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Trying a bunch of different ones, see where the views come at this afternoon time in the middle of the day. And as you can see, we're messing up our format a little bit by kicking it off right at the start with getting you some information and some dropping that such huge alpha about India. But anyway, I still like my little artsy part of it here, so I'm gonna say now let's get the show actually started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world. It is December, oh my God, I can't believe what day it is, December 28th. There's only 3 days left in 2023, and I have to say, it's been a good year getting through it with all of you on DYOR Live and on the DYOR Media Network. As the other day I mentioned, Pedro's been doing this with me for a year. We got started a year ago or so. Didn't do so many shows until about March, kicked it in again, and then this summer really got at it. And we're really trying to push the show, push some good content out to you, and get things going. This week, I'm, as you can see, I'm at the Space Lounge studio, which is otherwise known as my temporary studio, as I'm traveling between places. But Pedro is at his workstation there at his command center, Crypto Command Center, so he's been leading the show today. But I do want to take a moment to, my screen share crashed. Pedro and I had some good news to talk about. One of the things that, where is course, it crashes just as I go live with my own camera. If you recall last week, we had a show, and the theme was about good trading strategies. And all of you, we brought to you kind of a list of what other people do well. And they're all obvious things, but we like to reinforce them. And we brought up the idea that Cathie Wood was a disciplined trader and that she did a few good things. She took profits. She knew when to take losses. And I forget what the third one was, but it was like, don't do stupid things or something like that. But one of the things that we said is that she is, at the time, starting in November until our show, she had liquidated about $245 million worth of Grayscale and BTC positions. And everyone's like, oh my God, what's going on? You know, that type of stuff. And today, unfortunately, I just had this ready to go here. Let me get my screen share up and running again here. Window, screen share. Share. Add screen. Where is striking balls? Screen. Add to stage. Let's see if this works. Hey, it worked, finally. ARK Invest sells its remaining $200 million in Grayscale Bitcoin holdings for a huge profit. I mean, they sold almost, as far as we can tell from the news, they sold $500 million worth of either Bitcoin directly or the ETF, not the ETF, the Grayscale, I forget what they actually called it, just GBTC holdings. Everyone can say in anticipation of selling the news, but we want to remind everybody that we just did, like I said, we just did a show about Cathie Wood having some pretty good trading strategies, which all of us fail to do. That's sell and take profits. Sell and take profits. I mean, here's a good example of her thinking, because I went into her brain and fleshed it out with her. But if actually, in reality, if you can look at the market really quick and say, all right, January 10th is going to be an event of some sort. Oh, there goes my screen share. January 10th is going to be an event of some kind, Pedro. And in it, it's either going to super pump or on or about that day. Either it's going to super pump or it's not going to super pump and there's going to be a sell the news. Yep. And so Cathie Wood has said, look, I just made either $500 million or $1 billion, whatever you want. And what are the costs for buying Bitcoin? They're not really that much. It's not like Ethereum or anything like that where you could get stuck with $1 bazillion in fees.
Well, actually, speaking of that, I mean, it jumped up to $25 this past week.
Yeah, the ordinals are doing some inscription stuff again. But it's still, for a big organization like that, getting in and out of the market is not that expensive. Yeah. And she can afford to sell and lock in those profits. Because as we all know, setting stops in crypto isn't guaranteed. You know, a lot of the exchanges, they say, none of this is guaranteed, and if we miss your stop, tough shit, and you lose all your money. And in the regular stock market, you know, when a financial house gives you a stop order, they have to fill it. And if they don't, they have an internal error account in which they have to do that. Not so much in crypto. And so her risk level went down dramatically. She sold a bunch of stuff, locked in the profits. If the market tanks, she's just going to use that $500 million to buy right back in. And then when the market goes up, she's doubled her money, you know, with the same money. If the market pumps and she says, you know what, this is a good thing, the market's going to keep going up, she's just going to buy in again. And if the market goes up to 100,000 and she misses $45,000 to $55,000 and gets in back at 55 and it goes to 100,000, so what? So what if she misses that 10,000? So think about that. Getting in and out of the market and timing it is the hardest thing to do, and you have to be a wizard trader to time it correctly. And apparently Cathie Wood does that. But she did the smart thing, and she did what? She locked in profits. And so all of the lessons we learned in the previous bull market, in which many of us held on to stuff way too long and rode it to the bottom, this is a good example for when we approach this bull market coming in, know when to take your profits.
Well, one thing about her, and I think she's very clear on, I mean, if she really wants to get in, she could just go in and buy BTC futures within on obviously on the CME, and she has all the connections there, so it's not going to be hard for her to sit there and go, okay, let me get in on this XYZ system, right? Because that in itself is such a big deal. People don't realize it, and they don't think about, BTC is also on the futures exchange for the Chicago Mercantile, so it's there. Same thing with ETH. So, and these are future contracts, when I think it's a 50 to 1. So or excuse me, a 5 to 1. So when every time it moves up a cent, it's $5. Or excuse me, forgive me. Every time it moves up a point, not a cent, a point, Bitcoin moves up $5. So we're talking, there's major moves you potentially can have on the futures market. So if she really wants to get in, she takes that money and she can get in and get out on the futures within Bitcoin. So it's something to really be paying attention to, because she has the ability to get in and out of different types of markets. I think more so than what we actually have as well. So something to look over and check out as well.
Hey Pedro, yeah, exactly. And I'll punt on more news for now, because Crypto Mike said, says how do you think BNB is going to do? We went over that, and I don't remember what you said about its short-term lookout, but also he wants to know your opinions on Crow.
Yeah, we'll check out Crow in a second as well. So I think honestly, when it comes down to the next real stopping point is really the 398 area on BNB. That's really where we really want to be paying attention to, because as we continue up, that there isn't really any real zone that hasn't been traded through until we get up to the 398 area here. All of these have been in this range, so it's going to be really interesting. We hit this area, but then we put in a lower low here. So when it comes back into this level again, we should see a good reaction. But from 331 to 398, there really, or we'll say just 400 even, there isn't really much
Thank you, Pit
resistance. Monk. Thanks, Peppa. I appreciate that.
Not Pitbull. That's that Miami rapper guy. Pit Monk.
Pit Punk. Am I saying it right? Pit Monk. Sorry, I'm like sitting here drinking this. It's the holidays here, and everybody got together and stuff like that, and so everybody had kids, and kids get sick. So I've been went out there and got some stuff with ginger, and so I'm sipping on it right now as we speak. So forgive me if I sound weird.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I don't have my coffee. I don't have tea.
Oh yeah,
Zip.
I'm always quick on that, because I try to eat a small thing of ginger every single day. I try to eat at least 2 cloves a day. Those little
cloves.
Yep, cloves. Huge health benefit on it, from a neural to your heart to your kidneys. 2 to 3 cloves a day will keep you just humming along really well.
Just like 2 to 3 glasses of bourbon a day. It'll keep you nice and oiled up.
Keep you nice and oiled real well. real well. And just as a side hit, guys, if you guys could hit that little hearts and the little like buttons right there again, those who are listening. And I know I sound like I'm just...
I know it's the same with me, Pedro. We got to ask the people to do it, because it's not easy to remember to always go and press that like button. You get to watching, and you get to thinking how much money you're going to make in the in the crypto world, and during this bull run, and you forget. Oh, and you just hit that button there, and it really helps us out.
Really does. And just to add this in, Mr. Beast, aka
Bitcoin,
BTC Bitcoin, Mr. Beast, aka Bitcoin, is definitely one of those ones that I was expecting. As we're seeing everything rally, I was expecting us to see a nice little rally off of that. So if we do see a breakout here on BTC, okay, I do expect everything else to just explode. And so the reason why I'm bringing that up is, let's look at Crow here. Crow. I just sound like an idiot. Here we go. Crow here is a bit stagnant, right? So like I'm expecting this. It's following more or less what kind of a Bitcoin is doing here. So I'm expecting a clove a day keeps the vampires away. I'd agree with that one. A clove a day. I try to do these little things, right? Like I try to sprint at least once a day. Like legit sprint. Like when was the last time y'all sprinted? I try to at least do 3 to 4 pull-ups a day. I do squats, every single day. Like just not a lot, but just because it causes the blood flow. So these things are
I
important.
do it on the stairs at Target and the grocery store. They're in Chicago. All the parking is underneath the buildings, so you got to go up to the second floor to hit the grocery store. So they have long stairs. They have big escalators, but take those stairs and run up them 2 steps at a time.
Yeah.
People look
Yeah.
at me, guys, like I'm crazy, and they're like, "That old guy's gonna trip one of these days and bust out all his front teeth."
Honestly, sprinting upstairs is one of the most healthiest
Yep.
things you can do for your body. Like people just don't realize it. So there you go. Health advice too as well. Me personally, I try to drink, and majority of the time I drink a little bit more, but at least 100 ounces of water a day. Keeps the brain active, keeps you from basically getting dehydrated and your brain shutting down like 10-20% of it. So, these little things are important. But speaking of crow here, and crows are very smart. It's kind of stagnating. We are seeing a little bit of a pickup of volume here, but more to the downside than the upside. I do hope we do see a bit of a sell-off here, so I can pick up a little bit more. And if we do see a sell-off, I do expect us to most likely come down to these lower levels here. I'll point this out. There we go. About right in these levels here of that 6.9, 6.4 area here, just simply because we had a big, huge rally. We're consolidating. We are going to look to see it bounce off of this 961 area in these levels here. I don't expect it to come down to these other lower levels here, just simply because we've had such a huge push up that typically you'll have a consolidation, an expansion, and then into a come down where it comes down into a rally base rally. So that's typically what it does, and then from there we see it rally back even higher to that 12 cent mark area. So from an upper level area, I would say that 12 to 13 cent mark area is another target potentially you could see come down and then create a higher high to a higher low at these lower levels here, which would then be that 10 cent mark area. So be looking for that type of play there if you're looking. If you do trade the futures and you're outside of the United States, because if you're in the United States, you're not allowed to. But if you're outside of us, you can literally be able to play the future side, right? Where you have that ability to go through and short as well as go long, and have a smaller, what's the word I want to use? A smaller income from it. So
Yeah, I guess that's a good point for those of you in the U.S. watching or Canada, and you do trade futures. Where do you do it? I do think there is one or two places starting to be legal in the U.S. In fact, Coinbase has introduced some futures, haven't they?
yeah, but I think with that there's like regulations, and I don't know the full details behind that.
It's not awesome like Binance.com is, and we can't use it in the U.S.
Yeah, I just wish.
It's heartbreaking. Come on, Gary Gensler and whatever your CFTC guy is, and Jen and Yellen and all these people. We need a new leadership in Washington D.C. and in Southern District in New York. Bring on new and better, I should say, younger leaders into the regulation industry here.
Well, the thing is, can you not understand? I understand from their perspective why they don't want this. They've spent their whole entire life building to a level where they're now at these levels, right? And they're late to the party for like cryptocurrency. They thought cryptocurrency was just a fad and kind of like Beanie Babies and all these other things. I remember I even said it. I was like, oh, it's like Beanie Babies, right? But digitally. But now, man, they're late. They're late, and they're like, dude, We don't have a corner on this market, and if it takes over, I had an ex-girlfriend of mine, had her father was talking about like raving against this, and she hits me up and she asked me, she's like, what are your thoughts on this? And I sat there and I was just like, it's what's the word, it's probably going to take over. She goes, yeah, that's what my father thinks it is, and he's like in insurance and he's afraid of it. He's like absolutely hates it. He thinks it's just fake money. But I said, look, like
It's not fake money anymore.
yeah, it's not. I mean, the fact is that you have BlackRock, you have Goldman Sachs, you have all these major institutions that are literally creating ETFs based off of it. And so,
well, a good here on the screen behind me. It says publicly listed Bitcoin miners soar in 2023. Marathon Mining leads with a 767% surge in their price. Hut 8 out there, Foundry, Digital, all these companies are multi-billion-dollar corporations with employees, with physical infrastructure, with facilities, spending money, earning money. For anyone to think that this is just fake or play money isn't just inane. It's insane. It's crazy. They just don't realize the size of the economy behind. There are entire power stations that are being built, like old ones renovated and new power stations built, just to drive a Bitcoin mining entity, and that employs all sorts of construction people. I mean, the effect on the economy is massive. And we covered this in our show before. And this teed me up. Oh shit, that was the wrong button. This teed me up for before something I wanted to talk about real quickly today. If you remember a while ago, I talked about BRICS.
Yep.
And I talked about BRICS, and everyone's like, BRICS this, BRICS this, BRICS. The dollar's sinking. All these other countries are going to band together and beat the dollar. And I was just shaking my head. No. And all these foreign ministers, here's just Striking sitting behind his camera going, no, you silly people, that's not going to work.
Hey, man, I got on that bandwagon too. I sat there and I was like, because just everything that was going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then, go ahead.
Here's a good example is the U.S. dollar is very liquid everywhere. You can always use it. You can trade it for billions of dollars. And so people said, oh, well, we're going to start trading in our thing. Like India says, yep, you got to trade with our stuff. And so the trader said, all right, we'll give that a shot. And then so they, and my point is that, well, what are they going to do when people have these Indian rupees? They're just going to sell them for U.S. dollars. And so it's not going to help the currency at all. And the trade will, in effect, be a U.S. dollar-backed trade. And sure enough, today, the Indian Oil Ministry acknowledged that the country's push to pay for oil with rupees has failed because suppliers are not sure if they'll be able to repatriate their funds. High transactional costs. See, what happens is all these people that say, oh, we're going to use our own currencies. As I've said before in the show, the smartest guys in the world, I think, are people that make weapons to kill everybody. The second smartest guys are the currency traders, because they scour the market all day. You know, Pedro has like 5 screens. I have 4 screens in my normal studio. Currency traders have 14 screens and like a fleet of people yelling into their ear all day. And they yell into their ear simple things like, oh, we noticed a big payment in rupees to Kazakhstan. Or Kazakhstan paid for, the Indians. Let me get this right. The Indians paid the Kazakhstanis in rupees for Kazakhstani oil. So now, they front run that market just like people front run the market in ETH, BTC, or any of the MEV bot type things. And so the traders do that. They drive the price differently. India actually ends up losing money. Kazakhstan loses some money too. Now Kazakhstan's sitting on 100 billion rupees. What are they going to do with those rupees? They just going to pile them up in a nice little stack pile up to the moon? No, they're going to sell them because they don't want rupees. They're going to sell them for what they want. They want euros, they want US dollars, they want yen, Swiss francs, something like that. So they're just going to sell them. But who's going to buy them? Who's going to buy their rupees? They can't just dump them on the market. Well, I mean, you can just dump them on the market and the price goes like that and you lose another 10 percentage points. But the oil market, they make billion-dollar trades and make 1 or 2% here. So if the currency swings by 3% based on your trade, you don't have a liquid market that you can rely on, and that's happening right now in this whole talk about saying, oh, we're going to get out of the de-dollarization push. And the reason for that, Pedro, what's the reason for they don't want to use dollars? Why is that?
They don't want to be under the American heavy hand of our military complex. They don't. In addition to that, there's interest rates in which they've got to pay in the U.S. dollar, and they just get jacked with a lot of it.
And you're leaving off one key thing, and that's that they generally have to participate in the OFAC list, and they have to not be corrupt. They have to not do business with entities that are sanctioned. And I admit the U.S. government gets a little crazy with sanctions. We all know that. Yep. And that's for us in the elections to fix. But by having a highly liquid market with dollars that people actually play by the rules, isn't that better than having a barely liquid market in which everybody just scams the system and is a corrupt country? I mean, most of these countries in BRICS don't even trust their own people.
Yep.
Literally
the government isn't trusted among its own government.
Right, and the guy down the hall is plotting the other guy's doom so he can move up offices and things like that.
Yep.
And, that happens in the U.S. government in certain ways, but in legal ways to shame people and stuff like that. But in foreign countries, the whole idea, and I brought this up because I was like, aha, I knew it. And I talk about this in our DYOR thing here to teach you about it. Because it's one of those things that when you look at all these media sources and you get all this news now from all these sites, and I've looked at making the DYOR site full of all news too, but I'm like, until it can be something different and good, that's a waste of time. But take your blinder glasses off and look at the big picture and say, why do people want dollars? In every country of the world, you can instantly trade your own currency for dollars almost immediately. And the whole world treats it as a good trade, and it's trustworthy. Obviously, we're printing too much money and the value's decreasing a little bit. But when you look at the overall Forex rates, the dollar's still pretty strong and everything still falls in the rates. So be careful out there, ladies and gentlemen. Be careful and listen to Striking and say, don't fall for the media push. Don't fall for all the articles that say, oh my God, which are a lot are written now by Indian troll farms and South African troll farms and all this type of stuff that says, oh my God. Because the dollar, until somebody can replace the U.S. dollar in liquidity, because first comes liquidity. You have to be liquid for everything. And after that comes credit. Once something's liquid, then you can get credit on it. And someone has to guarantee that credit, and so there has to be a way for a creditor to liquidate things easily and for pretty much a known price. And then after credit comes acceptance. So once something is liquid, once you can get credit on it and grow your economy or grow your business, and then it becomes widely accepted. And a bunch of knuckleheads in Africa and the Middle East saying, oh, we're just going to get rid of the dollar so we can trade our own. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. Liquidity, credit, and acceptance are really important.
Well, I also want to add this to it because I think this is something to really be paying attention. So I've been really trying to fully understand the full history of why the central bank was really even remotely adopted. I know there's a lot of people saying that it's bad, and and I don't disagree. There's a lot of bad things. And Pip Monk, I like what you're saying there. That's also a good. So if any country trades, I think, and we'll talk about that in a second. But central banks, there is a need for them, and I can't believe that's coming out of my mouth. When I look at what we've had in the past and the illiquidity that causes bank runs and small institutions to fall in on themselves, really caused a lot of heartache. I mean, in reality, but at the same time, you also have these huge explosions of credit within a credit-based system that the Fed helps propagate. But the importance of the ability to be able to create liquidity in a market so that we don't see crashes are important. Like it really is. And the more and more I look at it, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, because I get like Bitcoin is important as well now, right? It's just, it gives you a secondary market to be able to play in the world. But having a dollar that's stronger, it's just like, let me put it like this: we are the best worst option in the world, right? Like we are the least stinkiest entity out there.
Right.
Okay, like it's the best way to,
That's a good point.
right? I mean, I don't, when you think about China and what's going on there and the corruption there, right? It's really bad, right? And they're about to have another, civil, I won't call it civil war, but there's a lot of stuff going on. People have lost a lot of money, and people are hurting pretty bad there. So you have this huge, you have a huge push of things that aren't good there as well. So
Right.
the fact is that you have, and the strongest person there. I mean, I ain't gonna trust Russia as much as, like who are you gonna trust, Xi Jinping, or are you gonna trust Putin? Which one are you gonna, like,
Right.
like, all right, pick your, but then, or do I trust Trump or Biden, right? Like it's, they're all horrible. Like it's like, so how do you fight that off? So I look at this like the central bank right now, and I can see at least where that money is coming from, or not necessarily coming from, but where it's going, and the debt in which we're at. Whereas with where they're at, you really can't. It's not so upfront and honest, right? At least here I can sit there and say, all right, central bank has $7.7 trillion. They're trying to get rid of that debt. They're trying to come back. I mean, I don't think they're going to get rid of all of it by selling off the bonds that they bought, right? But I think having a 2.9 trillion or potentially, a 1.5 trillion, what's the word I want to use? Debt on their balance sheet is a better set. When you look at what's actually happening in the market overall, the holdings, like the central bank is a fairly profitable company, right? Like they've got some money, and so the banks that back them are receiving income now, right? Like they're able to actually do decent, right? This past year they were negative, right? They weren't doing good, but now they're pretty much above a positive where they're going. So I hate to say that like I'm for these guys, but like I said, as of right now, they are the least worst option out there as of right now, right?
Right.
Analyst guessing, what is that? I guess isn't it? Could be 30 years away, could be at the next war. My feelings would be sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Actually...
Pitt, let's go back to the comments about and think about what my analogy of taking the blinders off. First of all, I do believe an actual working BRICS or currency union would be good, because competition in anything is good, and having BRICS actually get together and form something that did work well would cause the U.S. dollar, the inefficiencies that currently exist in the dollar system, to slowly work themselves out. As people said, "Ooh, we need to gain, one more basis point advantage over them," and stuff like that. But your comment, if those countries turn and say, "Oh, we're only gonna pay for this in BRICS, or you can only buy our commodities in BRICS," think about how that would work. So they have one currency. Okay, that may work, but guaranteeing the value of that currency amongst these 30 countries would require a central bank, and a central bank that all of these people had to trust to be like. Right now we have the Fed, but the Fed is part of the Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland, and the BIS is the ultimate central bank, and everyone trusts that a member of the BIS is a good working partner. And these countries don't trust each other. You think Venezuela and Russia and China all trust each other with their money, not their own money, but like China and Russia and Venezuela are going to put their money in the hands of somebody who might be running, the Guatemalan guy or Ugandan guy might be running charge of the central bank. They'll be like, no, We're not going to do that. And then on this hand, so we say we do get to that point and say, all right, you can only pay for things in bricks. Say, all right, so we're going to buy $1 billion in wheat from Zimbabwe. And so we go onto the market and we buy $1 billion in bricks. The price of their currency now has gone up a lot. So we're able to buy less. I'm going to get the analogy wrong, but the swing is too much. The value of all those currencies or commodities coming over there is too much for a market that is not as liquid as the dollar. And remember, it has to be, if it for an equal trade and for it to work, it has to be as liquid as the dollar or really close. Otherwise, people won't use it. Even the BRICS people, they'll be like, hey, boss, if they use our currency, they're going to buy all this. The currency is going to fluctuate. And then they're going to buy it. And then they're going to dump the BRICS for US dollars somewhere else. And then our currency is going to devalue. Or if we just use this in dollars, we make a guaranteed $1 billion and there's no risk. And if we do it the other way, we might make $1 billion in $10, but we could also make only $900 million too. And the boss is going to say what? He's going to say guarantee that $1 billion in US dollars. And so you have to think about it in those terms. Is what's the reality of trying to trade a lot of money in an illiquid market? I mean, this is kind of economics 102, and trying to think about, with currency that nobody really wants in the Western world, what do you do with it? You have to dump it because nobody, your $1 billion in BRICS currency that you're holding could be worth zero tomorrow. It's like SafeMoon. BRICS is like SafeMoon. It's like, wow, it's great. Everything's great. It's doing well. Tomorrow it could go to zero. Like, imagine if it's backed by gold. You say, all right. And I have a couple videos about this. Search our channel for DYOR now or BRICS. And they say, all right, it's backed by gold. And we have $5 trillion in gold. And Russia has 4 trillion. China has 1 trillion, whatever it turns out to be. Meanwhile, Putin and Xi have fleeced a couple of $1 trillion in gold out of the market. And they've been faking the audits. And that word gets out. And that's happened in every country in the world except the United States because we put it under control of Fort Meade or Fort Knox and the Federal Reserve. That the gold didn't match. Imagine if they said, oh, there's $5 trillion backing this currency and tomorrow comes out there's $2 trillion. Is it going to devalue by 3/5 or is it going to devalue by 90%? It'll devalue by 90% because the confidence.
Run from
right.
it.
It'll run from it. And then all that money you're holding is worth zero. That's why our system works, is because it's guaranteed by all these countries that actually trust each other at the Bank of International Settlements that it's going to work. And I know we print too much money. Everybody knows that. But it's already, as Pedro, you just had the balance sheet of the Fed. They're already turning that around. And they can turn it around pretty quickly, too. I mean, I don't mean like tomorrow, but I mean, they could put out a plan that says in 10 years, this balance sheet will be at zero. We'll pay higher taxes, this kind of stuff. They'll cause some more inflation to devalue it too, but they can fix it. It's not unfixable.
Yeah, and that's the key. Is like there's enough. They have enough pool in the world where within the European central banking system, right? Where if they need to get together, they can sit there and say, look, we want to go through and add gold to XYZ. We want to do this. And they all work in conjunction with each other. Yes, they're separate, but they also work in relationship with each other. So there's a lot more money. Like I said, this is the United States Central Bank, right? But we can also look the EU, right? And yes, they're separate, but they're also the same. It's like cousins, right? It's like Elon Musk when he started Tesla and his cousins wanted to start a solar business. Well, what happened? Who funded it, right? So, like, is all I'm saying.
And then he bought it.
Then he bought it because y'all suck. Y'all need to learn how to do better. But it's just one of those things that as you keep moving forward, you can sit there and see EU Central Bank. There you go. Right here again, like you have a similar system where you sit there and can see it. But at any period in time, you can sit there and these guys can help each other out and say, look, we need to drop all this, we need to get it going. But as we keep continuing, Now, is it going to look more like this, where they had the huge sell off and then they pushed it back up back in 2014? And, like everybody knew this, like you all knew what was going to happen. You had literally, um, oh, not Ireland. Why am I saying Ireland? Why am I forgetting what they're called?
Indians?
No, not the
Iranians?
Indians. The Italians. Um, Italy. You had Italy and the whole entire thing that they basically they after 2000 September of 2014 and this whole entire mess up, where they had to fund them. They had to sit there and keep them up and running, right? So, but a lot of this they're going to start selling off, and it's going to be actually. Here's the thing: it's going to be really interesting to sit there and see what happens over the next 20 years. I'll put that up, Pimp Monk. It's going to be really interesting to see what actually happens over the next 20 years, because with crypto, there is, like, I wouldn't be shocked if also the central bank is buying crypto. I mean, it'd be stupid for them not to, right? Like, it would be silly for them not to. An infinite bank to at least be able to sit there and say, we hold, $100 million or $100 billion or $200 billion or $1 trillion worth of Bitcoin as a backing for our investors.
Right.
Banking
If anything, to be at least be liquid in that, if they need to settle something in that, even like an out of the ordinary thing, they're like, oh well, we've had to take some assets from this other central bank that isn't doing well. Well, since we have some crypto of Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that, we're a little liquid in it. So I think that's a valid point, Pedro.
Yeah, so it's just when you sit there and you look at these charts, these are big. This is huge money, but in 20 years, 15 years from now, as crypto is moved, is crypto going to be? Is it going to take over the monetary system? May not. It could be like um, the tech sector in the S&P 500, right? Underneath the tech sector, you have then Bitcoin, you have Solana, and you have cryptocurrencies that are, every 4 years you see it take over 90% of the portfolio, and then, a year later it's now back at an equal level, right? Like it may not, who knows? But it's something to be thinking about, like, and it's one of the questions, and somebody proposed this to me. They're like, what do you think that we're going to have another bear market
We
after this
always will.
bull run?
We always will
Right.
have a bear market.
Yeah, intrinsically, that's the way Bitcoin is set up. But again, those are just simply people buying and selling. If they hold on to this, right, the institutions, like, because here's the thing, all those people sell off. Well, I know that the institutions sit there and they go, well, everybody's selling off, I want to buy it.
Right.
So
Well,
it's going to be.
that's what Kathy Wood did. Everyone was selling Coinbase when they were getting beat up by the SEC, and she said, "You know what? Give me 20 million of it," and she just turned it into 245 million.
Talk about a nice little quick 6-month year 20x.
Yeah. Pitt, you mentioned XRP.
Yeah.
And while Pedro's bringing up the chart and looking at the pricing of that, I'll give you my opinion of that. And trust me, this is my opinion. My opinion is that XRP is good for us because, or I should say Ripple is good for us because they're fighting the battle against the wayward SEC. And they're helping that in that area. Where they're not helping at is that in every country they've hired lobbyists to push for a CBDC. Or CBDC. In the U.S., they're pushing, but really they're pushing hard in Canada. They're pushing hard in the U.K. They've got a trial program going on with SWIFT right now, so the SWIFT wire system can turn into a CBDC. Of course, all built, developed, and operated by Ripple, which would be good. But it's my opinion that CBDCs are very bad for us. On a bank-to-bank thing, the JPM coin. If the U.S. and the U.K. want to use a central bank digital coin to exchange money between the two countries for payments and settlement of whatever, that's fine. Don't care about that. But we all know the word mission creep. And the word mission creep means that all those things will be pushed down eventually. Some regulator will come up and say, look, there was just this big scam, and if they use these stacks of dollar bills and other types of crypto, if we just had a CBDC, all of this stuff would be over. And then next thing you know, we have a CBDC, and none of us own our money anymore. None of us control it. We can only spend it where we're told. Like I said, I already have one debit card that I can only spend it in certain places. And I have it's just as a backup. Obviously, I can get rid of it and get another one. But it's convenient for the account that it's linked to. And I couldn't buy lottery tickets with it. I can't buy any types of firearms parts with it, or ammunition, or anything like that. Those are all banned categories, and that's what CBDCs will be like too. And that's what Ripple is pushing. And so when you think of Ripple and Stellar as being these great transactional companies, they're good companies. They've spent a lot of money. They're SOC audited. They're all this type of stuff. They can work with the financial industries. They're great. They're standing up for crypto rights and all this. That's not their goal. Their goal is to push their products and earn tons of money. And they do that by pushing CBDCs all over the world. And that is bad. And like I say, that is my opinion. But I will say that my opinion is widely shared in the crypto world. Yes, they're inevitable, but in the States, I don't know where you are, Pitmonk, but in the States, we can push back against them, because as much as everyone thinks it's completely authoritarian, it's only mildly authoritarian. If this orange hair man comes in, it'll be way more authoritarian. But we're pushing. The states are banning CBDCs, and that'll filter into Congress soon. But Pedro, go ahead with your what's going on with the XRP coin itself.
Yeah, so again, we're still in between this consolidation period here. We did see an increase of sellers stepping in, but now since the last 2 weeks of the holidays, we've just kind of gone sadder. We've kind of just gone sideways here. So, when I sit there and I look at this, these price point between 75 cents and 57 cents here, we've got to break out of this. So I think as Bitcoin keeps rallying, or at least we should see a push out of this sideways pattern here, this consolidation pattern, and we should see at least come back and tap again the 85 to 94 area. What we're looking for is a big amount of volume. That's the most important thing, is to see a huge amount of volume with as it goes up, we see a sell-off first, and then we see it push up. It's got to trade like an institution. We have to sit there and see it. So basically, we see it first go down first to go up, right? Where we see a defense against the sellers and being overcome by the buyers as we see it up. And typically what that is the institution will drop it down first and then push it back up. If you understand ICT trading, he does talk about that a lot on his system. Should first go down to go up. So it's one of those things to be paying attention to. I don't see much here. The only thing I could sit there and really say is we're stuck in between, really on a daily trend here, a weekly trend, is that 20 and that 8 period moving average as we play. The 50 period moving average is pushed up, and price is above the 100 and 200 day. Oh shoot, give me 1 second. Yeah, we're playing also off that 8 period moving average on the monthly as well. So you can see how we're doing some ping ponging off of this, but be paying attention to really the moving averages, as we want to see everything kind of get underneath it. So if we clear this with volume,
what's the yellow moving average here, Pedro?
That's 100 period moving average, the yellow. So the key is what we're looking for is to get out of this range here between 75 cents to 57 cents. We've got to push out of this with real volume. And as of right now, that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing a consolidation of where they're out. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do in the next bull run. And And if they do, are they going to get above and could clear their highs? I think they will. I don't. I think they have such a huge community that if they die here, they're just simply. I mean, if they don't start pushing here, then I think their community will just be like, you know what, we had big hopes for you, but what you've done, we don't want part of it, right?
Yeah, it's interesting to note that they're not pumping like all the other
Yep.
altcoins.
Yep.
And to be honest, I mean, XRP would not really qualify as the typical altcoin. I mean, they've been established as a real business with real products right from the
Uh-huh.
start. Um, but it looked like Cardano pumping, Matic
Yep.
pumping, Solana super pumped.
Yep.
All this type of stuff, and everyone thought, well, XRP is going to do that too, but I couldn't see in your chart you had didn't have the volume up, you had something else, but I didn't think XRP's volume had been that good.
Yeah, it was the other thing. XRP was actually kind of very chill, and I'll pull it up here again. I was gonna bring up Litecoin as well because that was one of the ones that I was sitting there going like,
Yeah, while you're doing that, just quickly, ladies and gentlemen, if you recall last week we had talked about establishing our watch list, and we are going to have a viewer done and all that. I'm not doing that today, simply because I've got a temporary setup here and I don't have my super graphics computer running and can do it. But I do want to mention that we'll be probably starting next week. We'll have the watch list, and maybe Pedro, we can put together a ghost portfolio of some things and invest some fake dollars in a test spreadsheet.
oh, definitely,
To
absolutely. I
see
think
how
that would
it
be
does.
really.
I think that'd be really good. I watched the movie. That's the sidebar again, but I watched the movie Dumb Money the other day on the
Oh,
airplane.
great movie.
What a
Yes.
great movie! And that actor, I'm like, this actor is terrible. He talks real funny. He's just awful. And then I go over and watch one of Roaring Kitty's videos, and I forgot. Oh yeah, that guy's awful also. But the way he did everything by putting his portfolio on the screen and all that, I was like, that's wizardry, man. I was like, that was a great movie, and how they took down Melvin Capital hedge fund and caused the other guys so much loss. It's just a great story. I remember that thing playing out in real time, and I was not part of it at all, and it was awesome.
It really was.
If you haven't
And
seen that movie, people, go watch Dumb Money
go
right
watch
away.
it. It's really good. And also, if you guys, just as a reminder, please hit that like button. We'd appreciate that. Like and hit the little hearts button, stuff like that. That does help us quite a bit. Um, but to bring this up again here, Litecoin is kind of similar to what's actually going on with XRP, right? It's I expected to see some big push here just simply because I'm assuming that with Litecoin you're also going to see it go up because the Bitcoin ETF. But it was really interesting to sit there and see that they've kind of stagned out here. So it's a bit
Well,
of a
didn't we just have
stagnant.
a Litecoin halving?
Yeah,
Didn't it just happen like last month or something like that?
yeah. So
No effect.
no effect.
No effect.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. So it's something that I'm kind of shocked by it. We should have seen something really huge push from here, but we didn't. So it's just very unique. But on the backside behind it, though, with XRP, you can see here it's very similar. So could we see a rally here? I think we could. And the reason why I say that is this, is when you look at the volume, it's a consistent amount of volume. It's not a small amount of it. This past month, we've seen a consistent amount of volume stepping in, pushing up. Whereas here you have these really deep lows here consistently. Right here, you're seeing a bit more, even during the holiday season. So for me, I'm sitting there going, okay, are they putting in a position? They potentially could. Somebody could be putting in position here for it to explode. So when I sit there and I look at that, I would sit there and say, well, where would be an area if it was the first sell off would be really good? Honestly, it would be down at these lower. If it does do a lower level, these lower levels sitting right here at that 46 area, as well as the 56 area. So between this area, it's 10 cents, but it's an area here that you could sit there and see it either come down or go up. So it's just these small little details that I'm looking for. But as of right now, we're just consolidating and it's just kind of sitting here in the midst of this. There's been times in the past where we do see a coin just consolidate when you expect it to go up.
Yeah, it seems to be doing plenty of consolidation here, and that's can only be a good thing. I mean,
Well, kinda. It could consolidate and then drop, or consolidate and go up. So I don't know, but if it does, I think if it does go down, XRP, personally, that 56 area and 46 area is definitely an area that I'm looking to be purchasing it. At least start, right, even more here, and then coming down to these typically lower levels here. But again, we're seeing this really, the consolidation period could potentially be just setting up for a market rally. But again, we know that they're also selling off their own coin to pay for legal fees and everything of that nature. So
yeah.
how does this, how does this bode well for everything? I
Well,
don't know.
Pedro, we don't have a lot of time left in the show, so viewers, if you've got anything you would like us to go over or any topics you want me to pontificate about, please let us know. We've had a over an hour long show today, and it's been a good one. We had some good viewerships, good viewership, some good comments. Thank you, everybody. And apparently, we got everybody in front of the TV and computer or telephone today, because we've had a good crowd visit us today.
Yeah, I totally appreciate you guys so much. You guys are awesome. We would just be two jokers out here just rambling without y'all. You guys make us
Well,
actual
I'm just a
show.
joker.
I think we would do this, even if we didn't have people that were watching us. But it does make it nice to actually have a crowd there. Again, tell your friends, your family about us. We'd appreciate it. Or post us on a social media platform if you can. One last thing, let's check out Kaz here, because Kaz itself is one of those ones I had been talking about
Yeah.
when it was up at these higher levels. There, I said I do see a nice little sell off coming down here, not in a bad thing, right? But it's gonna be 70. It'd be 7 cents is really that mark area. So I personally am looking. I have purchased a few of this stuff here. But my real ticker is right here at the 7 cent mark, as well as that 4 cent area. And then I'm almost positive we'll see it explode again, because there's so many of the buyers will sit there and go, all right, this is a good play here, boom. And so when I actually was looking at their market cap here, I was just looking also at breaking news. Kathy Woods. Let's bring up
Pitmonk, you're welcome. Thanks for today's show. Appreciate the feedback. Please pump our ego all you can, please.
Thank you. Appreciate that. If you could hit that heart button, that like, that 100 mark there. Let's go ahead and look at Kaz here. Shoot. Let's go back to crypto. And Kaz is actually in the top 100. They're about a $2 billion market cap there. Here you go, Caspa. Which was really interesting. I was looking at them going, wow, this is not a bad, I could see Caspa, a lot of these other V chains, these are in the 2.5 billion mark area. These potentially could be seeing 10x's, so it's not a bad thing. Now, granted, it ain't like a micro cap where, you get 1,000x and you get, potentially 100,000x or even a 10x, right? When you start to play with those, right? Especially with the market coming along. But on the backside behind all of it is that you potentially could get some pretty big runs here. So, be paying attention to these top coins here. Top 100, I always tell everybody, look, go through these. Go through the charts of them and check it out, right? Like Fetch, that was huge, right? Axie Affinity, right? That was another one that I was like, dude, they are.
Is what's the fucking Avalanche up there on that list?
Yeah, definitely Avalanche. AVAX, definitely.
Did you see? I think they pumped like 800 million% in the past 6 minutes or something like that.
Are you serious?
No, but I mean, they've been. I think if you look at their chart for the past week, they're up crazy too.
Let's check out AVAX here real quick.
Oh, nope, that was wrong. No, that's the CAS chart.
AVAX, AV. Here's Axie here real quick. Axie was been pumping. I thought I had AVAX up here. Or is AVAX up here? There it is. Yeah. Yeah, they're getting a nice
Oh, they
little
had a big
sell-off.
sell-off.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this isn't bad. So we came down, hit this, we blew through. So we came up. Oh, what it looks like. Boom. It's been a minute since I've looked at them. So we got a nice little sell-off from here. So, boom. Blew through this one. Ooh. Yeah, blew through it hard. So it definitely was going to go hit that second.
Well, you know what? That must not have been the one I was thinking about. Because one of those A's begins with an A pumped yesterday and today like Matic, like crazy.
Let me pull it up here real quick. Algorand. Boom. Aptos.
What's AAVE? Is that Avalanche?
Yeah, no. Avalanche is AVAX.
Oh, it's AVAX, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting them all confused now. Erg.
But there was one that let me pull it up here.
I don't have the right computer here to be. If I do too many things, the whole thing just goes pew.
Yeah, I think we saw that. I was like, oh snaps. Give me 1 second. Where are you at, Crypto? Let's check it out here.
Space Cat says Integrity Coin is doing well. They have something big coming out in the new year. Plus, I like what I see in Owner's Unity. Owner's Unity. There's a new crypto phrase. All right, we'll keep reminding us about Integrity Coin and Nets. Pitmonk says, "Look at Nets." I don't know what Nets is. NETZ.
What do you want us to do? Integrity Coin is doing well. They have something big coming out in the next year. Let's check out Integrity here real quick. And Space Cat, do you know the coin, the moniker for it?
Yeah, drop us a link to a chart for it.
TEG. All right, there we go. TEG. Boom.
There we go. Integrity.
All right, let's pop this. Compare. Boom, nice little sell-off here. It's good. I would say the 50-cent mark area here is a nice little area where I could buy back in. Market cap here on them. Where's their number? What is their ranking?
Market cap says $3,000. I don't think that's the right one.
Volume market cap. Volume market cap. No, 3 mil. Yeah, it's 30.
Oh, that's 3 mil. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's 3 million. Yeah, it's 3 million.
Well, Integrity Coin needs to get something moving because they recently have had a good pump. Like everything else, well below their highs of a year ago or 2 years ago.
Boom, fully diluted market cap. Boom, website white paper. All right, yeah, give me 1 second. Let me pull these guys up here real quick because I'm trying to see what happened. Why aren't they pulling up? All right. TG. Integrity. No, that's definitely not it. TG, crypto. Let me see here real quick where they traded on so I can sit there and look at the chart. GetIO. Kraken. Can I just pull up their chart here on it, or what?
Who knows?
Wait,
Who
what is
knows?
the who is it? What, what's a why am I forgetting the names of CoinGecko? There we are. TG, boom, TG.
All right, let's skip over this one for now, and we'll do a little research behind the scenes,
Yeah.
Space Cat, and we'll bring it to you. See if you can quickly find what Pitmonk is talking about in Nets, NETZ, if that comes up quickly.
NETZ. Was it just recent? Was it with Bitmart?
Not much to say about that chart. Other than it doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
Most new charts since about the
Yes,
fall of
last week.
2021,
Okay.
most new charts look terrible.
All right, so let's pull this up here then on a smaller time frame here then real quick. Let's go to the 8-hour. All right, so we on the 8-hour here, you can sit there and see that we are below that 8-period moving average, and the 20-period moving average just popped up. But we are seeing some sellers step in, so we did try to push up right here as well on December 23rd. You saw it sell off, and support did kick in. So on that 8, so let's go to the 4-hour here real quick. Volume here is dying off on buyers, and sellers are taking over here, especially with this small candle here with this huge amount. But it was bought back, which is nice down here. So you are having buyer wicks. It's got to break above that 4-hour 8-period moving average here. But the fact that I am seeing defense here against this level here of that 8 cents is really good. This is really a good market area. So potentially we could see some real buyers. The only problem is I'm seeing the volume drop off on sellers here on the 4-hour mark here. Whereas overnight, I'm at 3 o'clock, we saw a lot of sellers kicking in off of this level. So you've got to sit there and see. You could potentially buy this here. Again, this is not financial advice. It's only educational and entertainment purposes only. But right here, you can sit there and see that we are at least somewhat having buyers step in. So where could it go? Potentially, if you did want to get in right here, I would put my stop at that 81705 area here, underneath here, a little bit lower, right? And potentially see if we could potentially make at least all-time high again. You do have this big, huge seller wick here, which means that there are sellers here. So you're going to have a hard time pushing through that on that 4-hour. So you want to sit there and see higher
Pedro,
high,
point
higher
that
lows.
seller wick out again and really emphasize it so the viewers can see it.
Yeah, right here. You can sit there and see that you definitely have a supply wick here. It's a pretty big supply wick. They did push it up and then sold it off.
Immediately sold it off.
Yeah.
Which it means two things. One, there are lots of sellers, or two, there's a whale that just saw a big buy and said, I'm taking that liquidity for free. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I don't know really anything about the circulating supply and how it's distributed here, but those are two good reasons for that.
Well, in this level right here, as you can see down in the hour mark area, you can see right here that you did have a huge amount of sell-off, even more so than this liquidity buy here. And it held. All right, so that to me shows there is real buyers, because when I see a market hold, even in the midst of sells, that means there's the opposite end kicking in that's actually buying. If you can please take a look at
the Greater Project. Once again, we'll put that in the background to do some research on, and maybe be able to speak more knowledgeable.
Wait, is
about
it
that
called
in the future.
the Greater Project, or
No, he's just saying look at the bigger picture of NetZ or whatever it is.
Oh, okay, I will. You can see here, like on this level, right, where we're literally buying, we were trying to sell off, and you did have buyers at these levels, so there definitely is a buyer at the 8 cent mark? Are they going to be able to hold? That's the part, right? It looks like they are. You know what I'm saying? Whoever is holding this up is holding it up pretty well. I want to get down to the itty gritty here. Let's check out the 30-minute. So yeah, you got to push up. Definitely people buying, ba 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 ba.
I don't know if anyone's been able to hear that light porn music I've been playing in the background, but it's free. Does not get any grief from YouTube.
So yeah, so look, this here, these are real buyer wicks coming in. Yes, you don't have. This area is a consolidation period here. I can sit there and see it right here. So, yeah, you know, if you're going to look to buy, I'd be purchasing like right at this 8.6-ish area if it sells off where these buyer wicks are at. But the reality is, if it falls below here to that 8.1621 area, it's most likely going to come down to the lows here at the 7 cent mark area. Is the next possible drop, and then after that, it's, you know, it's gonna be have a free fall here down, but it also is holding at this level, so you could see it go to the highs of the 13 cent, if not higher. If they have a real utility, and if the community is really strong, and you know, like they're like, yeah, then you know what? That listen, there's always a never ever discount the community as
Right.
as like when you look at, you know, Lunic, right? It's, you know, it's
Well, Pedro, I mean, from
yeah.
my fundamental point of view, and not the TA part of this chart, looking at this chart, for my eyes, tends to say not bad, because there wasn't the large continuous sell-off,
Yeah.
as owners and insiders just said, "Oh, you know what? Screw it, I'm taking my money."
Yeah.
And obviously, there's plenty of sells on it, but it's not that straight down one that you normally see, and then you know, and trading way below the launch price. It's hanging in there, so you know, keep reminding of us, and we'll watch it. But
Well, my question
Pedro,
is this,
go
just
ahead.
real quick. So Pit Monk, do they have the utility is huge? So do they have a working utility, or is it still they need money to build the utility?
Always a good question.
Yeah, because I like, for me, right? Like, I'm always looking, you know, like I can't tell you how many projects we've seen where literally like they were going to take the money to build the utility. You know, we saw that a lot within the last bull market. You know, it's all built. Do they have people buying and using their utility?
All right, this is about the best soft shell you could get. You got both hosts talking about it. You got and saying, "Hey, we're going to learn
Going
about
over
this."
the
So
next
that's what
few
we're going to do. We're going to learn about this one. Pit,
I mean, with a $3
Going over
million market cap. All right, I'll go check them out. We'll see.
$3 million market cap's good. It's, you know, if they get to 20, you've made a lot of money on it already.
We'll say
Onboarding
X.
dev contracts now. All right.
We'll put this with the watch list for. Give me 1 second.
Pedro, we got to get you a good avatar here. You're.
I love my. I love it, dude.
It's just the empty StreamYard one. When we do these temporary streams, I don't have my broadcast studio or something like that.
I'll give
and
you.
Pedro comes off as just this circle. Anyway, Pedro and viewers, we got to get going here. We've been on a long time.
Right.
I got the real world stuff knocking at my door here.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, this is real world stuff now, because there's plenty of real world money in it.
Yes, sir.
Pedro, any last comments here before we roll off?
Yeah, be ready. Like, in the same sense, if we do see a sell-off, I mean, Kathleen Woods is something to be paying attention to. So obviously, she took her money out of, not all of her money out of Bitcoin, right? That's obviously what she not did, but she definitely took profit. And you know, here there's the old saying, you know, buy the rumors, sell the news, right? We know here in a couple of weeks, everything's going to crack down, and we're definitely going not crack down, but everything's going to be out there and be moving as we progress into the new year. So it's going to be really interesting to see, does her prowessness as a trader still extend out to Bitcoin? It'd be really interesting to see. So make sure
I would bet on her. That's for sure.
Exactly. But either or, I still sit there and say, if we do see a sell, it doesn't mean the end of the world. It just means, all right, it's a better area to buy in, and then make sure you be smart the way you're looking at it. Thanks for taking a look at. No, most def, and we'll go check it out. You know, be one of the ones that we pay attention to. I'm definitely, if you know the CEO and stuff like that, you know, have him reach out to us. We'll talk to him and see what he's bringing us. I'd love to know a little bit more about it. I'm not endorsing this, nor am I sitting there saying go buy this, right? But it's definitely, I like to know what they're doing and why, what makes them different than, let's say, Cas,
right,
or their other competitors that they're fighting with, right? There are buyers. I definitely do see buyers stepping in, and you know, and at this moment right here, when I was looking at this this mark area here, you know, this is an interesting mark area where
I don't have your graph on the screen anymore. We got to get it rolling, Pedro. We can talk all day about this stuff.
You're right. All right, man. I'll talk to you guys soon.
It's the end of the show. I want to thank our sponsors, Audit Chain, right down here below me, auditchain.finance. They are revolutionizing how SEC filings are done and how they are audited and how companies are held to account for their filings. And of course, over here, it's the end of the year. Camuso CPA, Patrick Camuso, has his own cryptocurrency accounting firm, and he's one of those guys that is allowed to say this is financial advice and this is tax advice, because that's what he does for a living. And he can not only get you ready to file your crypto taxes, he can go back a couple of years back and get you caught up and get you fixed up with the IRS. This is a United States perspective, obviously. But he has his own show on LinkedIn in which he talks about crypto taxes, and the general concepts apply to pretty much all of the Western world's tax concepts. And every time he's on, you learn something new. Camuso CPA and Audit Chain, thank you very much for the show. Pedro, thanks a lot for the detailed analysis today, and thanks for putting up with my temporary studio. But we got the word out. We had a good viewership today. We had a lot of chatting, a lot of talking. It's what we hope for every day. So we'll see you here tomorrow, most likely tomorrow, earlier in the morning, Pedro, if that's good for you.
Yes.
And we'll be getting ready for that New Year's.
Excellent, man. We'll see you then. Have a blessed day.
All right, as usual, once again, my name is Tom, otherwise known as Striking, here in the digital media world, and I'm so happy to have hosted this show again. So we'll see you later.